From Wall Street to the great beyond of foreign markets, where your lifestyle is decided every second of every day, whether you like it or not. Welcome to the newest feature here on MidPoint, Bulls, Bears, and Bucks. And welcome back the chairman of the Society to Advance Financial Education, who knows about all three, as a matter of fact. Steve Beaman joins us. Steve, always a pleasure to have you on the show.
Well, Ed, thanks for having me. I love your new title.
There you go. Well, everything is in there. Bulls, Bears, Bucks. We figured that covers everybody in America, one way or another. All right, we get it all in there.
Go.
Let's go ahead and start out here. MetLife is going to file a lawsuit against regulators who want to subject it to tougher oversight. Wait a minute. We're talking about tougher oversight. MetLife and everybody is complaining. In light of what's happened the last decade or so in America, I would think that a lot of these big companies don't have a leg to stand on when it comes down to needing greater oversight.
Well, it's going to be difficult, certainly for MetLife. I mean, this is part of the Dodd-Frank legislation, and the regulators got hurt, and the government got hurt with AIG and the other insurance companies being part of that entire mortgage-backed meltdown that we had. So I think they've got a tough battle. But by the same token, the regulatory system is not really set up from the Federal Reserve standpoint to handle the insurance companies. So this will be an interesting legal battle at minimum to watch.
Now, here's the claim that MetLife has, and I'm going to quote from this. It would make insurance products more expensive without actually enhancing financial stability. Would it, and would it?
The answer is yes, it will make insurance products more expensive. That's what regulations do. Whether it would enhance stability or not depends how the regulators do it. And I think the jury's out on that yet. We cannot deny that AIG hurt everybody involved. And MetLife is one of these great big players, too big to fail. And if they take risks that are systemic in the financial world, we're going to end up bailing them out. So you can't argue with the government's attempt to try to regulate it a bit.
But isn't it then endemic on the Fed, because they still don't have any capital rules at this point for insurers? So doesn't it snap back at them and say, if you're going to go this far, you've got to come up with some rules here to basically set the playing field?
You are exactly right, Ed, because you've got a Federal Reserve that's geared toward regulating banks. So they set minimum capital requirements. They set reserve requirements. Insurance companies don't work like that. So there typically has been state-level regulation of insurance companies. We now have these big multi-state insurers for life insurance products specifically. And I think it's going to be an interesting battle to see where the government comes down on this. The people that MetLife has hired are experts at winning cases like this. So, I think we've got a fascinating battle on hand, and it could serve to really impact the Dodd-Frank legislation if MetLife wins.
Spin to oil prices now. They dropped below $45, and I never thought I would see this in my life. OPEC is offering discounts to customers in an attempt to keep their market share. That's incomprehensible for those of us who lived through the oil wars for so many years. So what kind of an effect is this going to have on international markets with OPEC doing this?
Well, we certainly remember the 70s when OPEC teamed together to make us wait in lines for gasoline. I mean, clearly the United Arab Emirates and some of the other OPEC members are looking at their own self-interest, saying we have to be able to move product regardless of the price. Our production costs let us make a little money here. And with the global slowdown happening in Europe and the Far East, the demand for their product is actually declining. So they're all kind of fending for themselves. And I think what it means is you'll see gas prices stay down for the American consumer, and that's a positive. I can't imagine somebody not liking $2 a gallon gas again.
All right, now let's go ahead and talk about the president here. He wants companies to share the threats on fighting hackers. He'll give liability protection to companies that share information about attacks, but it will require very strict protections for personal information. I don't know if you're going to be able to cut both sides of that argument here.
I tend to come down on the side of not trusting government with that information. But this is a big issue. General Martin Dempsey of the Joint Command came out on the Sunday news programs talking about the fact that, yes, the United States far and away has the strongest defensive military, but when it comes to cybersecurity, it's an even playing field around the world. So I understand the desire of Washington to try to do something. Whether this is the right approach or not, I am not so sure. I don't trust them with getting all that personal information.
So then perhaps in your way of thinking, we shouldn't trust the fact that the president wants to also codify a consumer privacy bill of rights. Ooh, I wonder how long that will take to actually get written.
Well, exactly. And you have to wonder where the loopholes will be. So I think they're taking steps. We have to address this, Ed. You know it and I know it. This cybersecurity issue is the next big defensive issue of the next decade. And until our government and our big businesses get together and can do something, I mean, we saw the U.S. Central Command hacked yesterday. This is a big deal. So I respect they're trying to do something. Whether or not they'll do the right thing or not remains to be seen.
Make sure you go to the Society to Advance Financial Education website. Also, Steve Beaman is here as well. From time to time, he will give us his expertise as well. Steve, always a pleasure, my friend. Thanks for sharing.
Thank you, Ed. Have a wonderful day.
You too. After a short time out, we're back with the reality of being an American sniper and what it means holding a life in your trigger finger. That's coming up right here on MidPoint.